What's up, guys?
What's up? Let's get into the divisional round, some coaching hires, UFC, and our triumphant moments this week.
But this past week taught us it's not just about who wins, it's about how they get there. Let's break it down.
Let's get into it. Let's start with the NFL. Got the divisional round, Patriots versus Broncos. What are your thoughts on this one?
It was an ugly game. It turned out to be a really beautiful cinematic game to end with all the snow, and you don't really get to see that much, especially with all these domes coming up in all these cities. So that was really awesome to see, and just brings you back to this is playoff football, and it's usually going to be in snow. But ultimately, it was a really ugly game. Both offenses didn't do anything. The final score was 10-7, so the offenses were non-existent. Defenses were pretty good. The Broncos had some costly turnovers. So thinking about Stidham, you were really rooting for him. You wanted him to keep him in the game, which he did. But you knew and wouldn't be surprised if he made a costly turnover, and he did. It was around the 20, 15-yard line on their own side of the field, and he's trying to evade getting the sack and just kind of lofts the ball forwards a little bit is what everybody thought until they went back to replay it. And then the refs called it a backward moving pass or a backward fumble or whatever, and the Patriots were able to get a touchdown off of that. So Drake May didn't do too much. He made a couple nice throws that just almost looked like, is that Tom Brady out there throwing balls? But ultimately, I'm not surprised with the score. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, it was definitely a tough watch. It's not many playoff games I catch myself dozing off. This was definitely one of them. You said it, 10-7. Patriots took the W. Drake May, 10 for 21, 86 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 5 sacks. Ramondre Stevenson, 25 carries, 71 yards, 0 touchdowns. Mac Hollins, 2 receptions, 51 yards. It's tough. It was a good defensive showing. You saw Broncos all NFL defense showing out throughout the game. Patriots defense came out ready to play, so it was just tough. You would have liked to see someone pull away and really stake their claim on the Super Bowl and show some dominance or pull away, and that just didn't happen. With the Broncos having that backup in there with Jarrett Stidham, it makes it tough for people that are betting people to put some money on the Patriots in this next one. You just didn't see that fire that they had in that last round where they're just flying around the field making plays. And then what was typical of Drake May this season, him having a flashy moment, do something really stand out, have his MVP moment in each of these games that he's been playing, and it just didn't happen for him in this one, which is common. It happens from time to time. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have on that one. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of either of these teams, so I'm really just watching for the pedigree, quality of play, and stuff like that. And nothing was really happening to keep me glued in besides the implications.
Yeah, the deciding factor in that game was Sean Payton decided to go for it on and one. I think it was at the 20-yard line, somewhere around there. And it was midway through the second quarter. They were leading 7-0. And you should have took the points. You always take the points.
Yeah.
Don't get into this analytics bullshit. If you got the lead, especially with how the game might play out, take the damn points and be happy with a 10-0 lead instead of flipping the momentum over to the other team, and then boom, shit happens, and now it's a 7-7 game, and you can't have too much faith in your kickers because of the weather.
Yeah. It's tough, man, right? Ultimately, that's why the head coaches get paid the big bucks. If I'm an NFL coach, I'm definitely going for it in those situations. I would definitely be more of a Nick Sirianni, Detroit Lions head coach. I don't know why I'm spacing on it. What's his name? Campbell, yeah. Him. Those guys are always going for it. 4th and short, I'll definitely be of that style. I'm like, put your foot on their necks and try to finish it out and have faith in your football team. And decisions like that, a lot of times can galvanize the troops. Be like, all right, coach is with us. Like, players, with their game, they want to be put in those situations. So those are the hard decisions, right? Ultimately, it was the wrong one in this case. So, like I said, that's why they get paid the big bucks. So you can pretty much go back and forth. Game time decisions, but ultimately it's just those decisions that make the difference in games like these, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah. That next matchup, though, Seahawks and Rams, that was a barn burner.
And I was glued to the screen, like we said. That game was as advertised. We can go ahead and get into it. Seahawks 31, Rams 27. Matthew Stafford had a really great performance, 22 for 35, 374 yards, 3 touchdowns. Blake Corum, 9 carries, 55 yards. Nakua, 9 receptions, 165 yards, 1 touchdown. Go to the other side of the field. Sam Darnold, 25 for 36, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker, 19 carries, 62 yards, 1 touchdown. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 10 receptions, 153 yards, 1 touchdown. So when I see that, it's super similar to that college football playoff final where all the stars pretty much came, showed out, quarterbacks did everything they could, put everything on the line, but ultimately Seahawks were able to do what they needed to do to get it done. What were your thoughts on that one?
This game came as advertised. Anytime the Seahawks play the Rams, it's always going to be a classic, and it's always going to be a nail-biter all the way down to the very end. Didn't disappoint. Both QBs played outstanding. I believe they had almost damn near the same rating at the end of it, so they did all that they could. And Sam Darnold, he is the first QB in that 2018 class to even reach the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield. At the time, Josh Rosen, who everybody thought was the next Tom Brady, who turned out to be absolute hot garbage and trash. So that's what's crazy to me. It's a great feeling because you can't do nothing but root for the guy. Just being thrown out into the woods and into the trash and then to come out on top. On the other side, his Super Bowl debut. That's awesome. Those QBs balled. Both offenses balled. Puka, feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for Stafford because they did all that they could. They have that super connection. But ultimately, game was won on Sam Darnold's shoulders and his connection with JSN. JSN, he's a Dallas native, so it's so much more special to us.
Yeah, you got 14 DFW natives in the Super Bowl this year, so that's huge for the area in itself. To touch on a couple things that you said, Sam Darnold, his second time making the Super Bowl, he definitely made that clear. I thought that was pretty cool of him to say and point out. He made it that first time as a backup for the 49ers. Like, you can't take that away from him. He was there. He was there for sure. He got a ring. Oh, no, he did not get a ring. I'm sorry. But anyways, it's tough because you had those on both sides, those kind of stories. On the one side, you had Sam Darnold, Marcus Lawrence, who had what I think is 13 seasons in the NFL with the Cowboys. First season with the Seahawks, finally made it. I was super happy for him. That's a guy that put it all out on the line for the Cowboys for most of his career now and was super productive every single one of those years in being a run stopper. The only run stopper on the team for most of his career. And for him to finally go to a team that has put all the pieces together, who has put together a really good team to be able to be in a spot to compete for a Super Bowl, not only compete, to be in the Super Bowl. So super happy for him. You said it, Sam Darnold, but on the other side, it was tough to see. You wanted Matthew Stafford to get in there. I think if he gets another one, he's definitely in the conversation for maybe top 10 QBs, top 5. So maybe not top 5, but he's right there just because he's super consistent. Even in Detroit, you've got to consider they did not put a team around that guy. So for what he did out there, what he did coming to the Rams, winning a Super Bowl, and then if he would have won and got another Super Bowl, he's up there for me. And then you had Cooper Kupp on the Seahawks, again, someone I forgot, but super happy for him. They were calling him washed, got released, and now this guy is making it to another Super Bowl, so super awesome to see.
Yeah, I feel like the whole country's rooting for Seattle. You got to, right? The only people rooting for the Patriots is those people in New England, so all aboard the Seahawks train for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was really like, man, why is everyone hating on the Patriots? And then I see the Instagram reels, their path to the Super Bowl. I'm like, damn, man, they really had a cakewalk the whole way there. But, they didn't choose their schedule. You hope they didn't, but they made it there regardless. They have to win the games. Every team that they play is an NFL level team, so you got to give them credit where it's due. You got to give credit to Mike Vrabel for getting his team prepared and for Drake May for making the plays that he's made and getting his team to this point. So you can only criticize them so much, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Drake May and Mike Vrabel might be the second coming of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. It's kind of looking like that. I don't know if it's luck or destiny, but we might have another 20 years of Patriots dynasty.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Robert Kraft. He's doing something right. I know that.
Hell of a owner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when he's not in the massage parlors, he's doing something right. All right, let's get into some coaching hires. We had some big ones since the last time we talked. Let's go ahead and go with the biggest one since I think we were apart. Mike McCarthy going to the Steelers. What are your thoughts on that?
I know there was a lot of momentum and talk about how McCarthy would be a good fit with the Steelers, but I really didn't think it would be something that would actually happen. I thought the Steelers would go with somebody younger because that's for the last 60 years that's what they've done with Mike Tomlin. He was a young coach. Before him, Bill Cowher, he was a young coach when they hired him.
Mm-hmm.
And then, gosh, hate me, I don't remember the coach before Bill Cowher. But he was kind of young, I think, too, when they hired him all
Right.
those years ago. So McCarthy was a surprise to me, but it makes sense. He's got a lot of pieces to work with. He could potentially be working with Aaron Rodgers again. So,
Mm-hmm.
however, the relationship went towards the end of their careers together in Green Bay. That would be nostalgic, to say the least. But, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm guessing they chose somebody that is proven in this NFL.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the Steelers organization thinks they have a team that's ready to compete, right? And they were right there this year, so they're not wrong. Mike McCarthy, they know that that's someone who has a proven concept. He's won a Super Bowl. Even when he was with the Cowboys, I think it was 12-win seasons in a row. It's not easy to do. They didn't win too many playoff games, but at the end of the day, they were right there with not a lot of great draft picks and pieces around them with his tenure there. So you'd think if you put him in a position where the team's kind of ready to go, he'd be able to deliver a plan and preparation to where they're going to be able to compete next year, be in the playoffs, and hopefully make a deep run for them. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers. It would be great to see them, like you said, rekindle their relationship and possibly do something great. That'd definitely be a really good underdog story compared to the other powerhouses in the NFL. The Steelers, I would definitely say, would be an underdog story going into this next season, regardless of who their quarterback is. Just with anytime you have a new head coach, you think it takes a couple of seasons. So if they're able to do something early, similar to what McDonald's done or Liam Cohen's done this year, it'd be really great to see.
Yeah. And I thought Mike McCarthy was just an old geezer, but watching him come on the Pat McAfee show, he's pretty cool. He's awesome. He's funny. He's a good guy.
He's definitely a player's coach. The players here loved him. They didn't want to see him go. You heard a lot of players in the locker room talking about calling to have the Jones guys keep him around, but ultimately the word around town was maybe he was a little bit too much of a player's coach, coddling some of the vets, giving a lot of days off from practice. At the end of the day, they got several 12-win seasons, so that's a success in itself. My biggest, I guess, would say gripe or grievance for his tenure here was the team was just soft. They didn't have that grit. Anytime you came across a team that had real grit, some real toughness to them, the Cowboys would just crumble and just honestly get blown out. We saw it with the 49ers, the Packers, too many times over while he was there. So you go to a place, Pittsburgh, where he's from, where they're known for toughness, known for grit. You hope some of that stuff's already instilled. It's in the Pittsburgh Steeler culture. So you never know. Maybe it's all the pieces he needs to make one more Super Bowl run and really turn that thing around for the better. So time will tell.
Yeah. I guess he reminded Jones of Barry Switzer too much.
Yeah, possibly. Again, you never know what's going through that guy's head. I saw a clip, a photo of Jerry Jones, and he's sitting there with his notepad. I don't know where they are, but he has his owner badge on, and he's sitting there with his notebook and pen and pad, and his notebook is flipped open, and it shows it, and it's just scribbles on the page. I was dying laughing. I gotta send you that photo. It's hilarious. It might be AI.
He's losing it.
It was just scribbles on the page. It was so funny. It could be AI. Who knows?
If you drill here, and here.
I don't know. Maybe he's onto something. Maybe he's 2 steps ahead. You never know.
Yeah.
So, talking coaching cycle, who do we got next? Who do you want to touch on?
I got Dayball to the Titans as their OC. Man, I'm glad he got a new job. It's kind of what we expected. Probably not a new head coaching job just yet, but OC definitely in the picture. and it just happened to be of all the other teams. He goes to the Titans, a division rival. So looking at his head coach and Robert Saleh, looking at the fact that they got $100 million to work with this coming off season, looking at the fact that the Titans are getting a brand new $2 billion stadium that'll be done in 2027, looking at the fact that Dayball's got his second-year quarterback in Cam Ward there, I'm thinking, man, Dayball, he's kind of a QB whisperer a little bit when he's in his OC position. You think back to his days in Buffalo, he really helped out Josh Allen a lot, and they had a great relationship there. So Cam Ward could be the second coming of Josh Allen for him if they can work together really well.
Well, he got Daniel Jones a contract, so that says a lot to me. Before him and Daniel Jones got together, it wasn't looking too good, but he got something out of him, so that was good to see. I definitely think it was a good hire. Him and Saleh, like you said, Cam Ward, they're definitely making the right moves to turn the team around. And I don't really have a lot of hope for it, but they're definitely making the right moves. There's just a lot of really good teams coming to shape with these new coaches and new teams. Really new era of the NFL, it seems like. A lot of the old guard's been washing out. We're getting a lot of new, younger coaches, and it's going to be tough if they're going to turn this thing around. But it definitely is possible. They're putting their name in the hat for sure.
Another one that was interesting to me is today Joe Brady got promoted from OC and is the new head coach for the Buffalo Bills. That is surprising to me because last week an oppressor, Bills owner and GM were kind of throwing shade at the coaches because they had a question revolving Keon Coleman and how come they haven't really helped out Josh Allen that much. And they just were they seemed to me throwing shade at the coaches, taking the blame off of them and saying that, oh, Keon Coleman drafted him. He really wasn't our choice. The coaches were all fired up for him. They wanted him. Joe Brady wanted him. Sean McDermott wanted him. So that's very interesting to me. I know Phillip Rivers dropped himself out of the hiring process for them, and somebody else did. I think Dayball did as well. So it was just interesting to me. It's kind of late. If you wanted Joe Brady, if he was your guy to begin with, the next day after you fired Sean McDermott, you would have hired him. So I kind of sound like a Bills owner hater, and I'm not. It's a little weird on what they got going on up there.
Yeah, there's definitely two sides to every coin, right? You like to see them make a more flashy hire. At the end of the day, I do think it would be good. You've got to think that they talked to Josh Allen, you would think, and they decided the best thing for this team would be consistency and continuity, and you're going to get that definitely with Joe Brady. He's been there for a while now. So you've got to think the players were on his side. Hopefully that does something and doesn't throw them off the trajectory too far. They're similar to the Steelers. They were right there, man. So they're thinking they're ready to compete. They feel like they definitely got the right players. I know the ownership feels that way. So I guess we'll see, man. I'm not a big guy that knows a lot about Joe Brady, but it's definitely a testament for how the ownership feels, keeping the OC and promoting him to head coach, keeping the GM, but firing the head coach. It's definitely surprising. I don't know what the method to the madness is, but hopefully it works out for him.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
Yes, sir. All right, man, let's get into some UFC. We had a big one this week in UFC 324, Gaethje versus Pimblett. We had some big fights fall out on this card. We lost Nunes versus Harrison. We saw Cameron Smothering faceplant after the weigh-ins. As a new UFC fan, what are your thoughts on seeing that? That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, the video you sent me of the commentators' perspective and their point of view, they were kind of dogging on him. Not him, but
crazy, right?
Saying, you got to come to the weigh-in ready.
Yeah, you're a professional. You get paid. It's not that hard. Make weight.
Yeah. And as soon as the words left his mouth, all you heard was a thunk right behind him. And just face planted.
And that's Michael Bisping that was saying that. The guy I was telling you who fought with one eye. He was the first British champion ever in the UFC. But he was the one who was talking shit about making weight. And yeah, that was the worst timing ever. Your comment back to me was, man, he starved himself. But what happened there is these guys, to make weight, they have to dehydrate themselves because you can only diet so much. without losing muscle mass and all that stuff. So they go in there. Some fighters cut 18, 10, 12 pounds. We don't know how much Smotherman was cutting, but a lot of that is water weight when you get down to the last couple hours. So these guys basically try to take all the excess water out of their bodies, which in turn takes a lot of liquid out of their brains and the cushioning around their brains. What is it? That fluid around their brains. They say it makes them more prone to knockouts and all this other crazy stuff. You see these guys walk on the scale looking like skeletons, having to be helped off the scale. I mean, it's crazy. I honestly feel like there should be a hydration clause that you can only rehydrate so much after you weigh in. And this would stop fighters from cutting so much weight. And ultimately, a lot of these fighters would have to move up in weight classes. But that would prevent a lot of this. The fighters would be coming into the fights more healthy, more prepared, and you wouldn't have this. I don't remember the last time this has happened in the UFC. It's definitely my first time as a fan watching someone faceplant after the weigh-in. So it's insane to see. UFC, in my opinion, definitely needs to fix it. I don't think they are going to fix it, but this is something that just seems like an easy choice to make for me. Like, what are you really losing by putting a hydration clause in there so these fighters aren't literally on the deathbed the day before they go into a 3-round fight?
What is keeping these fighters from wanting to move up a weight class?
So you think about it as strategy, right? If you're fighting in the 155 division and you normally walk around at 190, 185 pounds, you're talking about cutting 20 to 30 pounds of weight. On the other hand, if you know you can do that and you're going to be 3 inches taller, wider, stronger, stockier than the people in the 155 weight class, someone like Pimblett, who on fight night looks huge compared to Justin Gaethje, you're going to do that because it's going to give you an advantage on fight night. If you feel comfortable losing the weight and rehydrating the night before the fight, you're going to be in there bigger and stronger than a 155er who's maybe 165 out of camp. Let's say that there's not a lot of them, but someone who really walks around closer to 155, you're going to have that advantage because weight really does make a huge difference when you're fighting someone. You see that a lot. The fighters that move up for titles, a lot of the times they lose that because it's just a crazy size difference. And we saw that with Volkanovski and Islam, in my opinion. It's just he looked huge compared to Volkanovski in there, and both times that they fought. So that definitely plays a factor. And when you're coming up in the UFC, and you're weighing your options, you're going to pick the route that you feel like gives you the better percentage to win. You only get your full check if you win the fight. So for most of the fighters, in my opinion, that's going to be your choices. I'm going to lose the extra 5 to 10 pounds, and I'm going to go into the fight bigger than my other opponent because that's what I got to do, especially if all the other fighters are doing the same thing. You're not going to go in there smaller. You might feel better, but you're going to be way smaller than the guys you're fighting. So it's just tough. We say it a lot when we're covering the UFC. There's so many variables going in here, but I definitely think the hydration is one of the bigger issues in the UFC right now. And that's the thing. It's still a really young sport compared to all the other sports we're watching. You know, NFL, MLB, soccer. This is a really young sport, so they haven't ironed out all the kinks. Like I said, I don't see them making a change anytime here soon, but it could happen. Definitely talks are going to be starting up if fighters start faceplanting like that.
Yeah, you make a really good point on how these fighters, the strategy of it, whatever gives them the best shot for a title fight and a title belt. But I'm also thinking, is it just being very strategic and calculated, or is it just a bitch move, like when they're doing that so they know that they're bigger, they have the potential to be bigger than fighters in the lower weight class? Like, in my opinion, that just, man, it feels like being a bitch. Like,
well, you're not wrong in that.
Way, like the old school way, you know?
Yeah, you're not wrong in that. So these fighters that do that, Aljamain Sterling, who Sean O'Malley beat for his first title, Islam Makhachev, Paddy Pimblett, all these guys are what's called weight bullies, and they're just guys that cut a shit ton of weight. Islam Makhachev, I think, walks around 185, 190, and was fighting at 155. He's now at 170. He's a 170 champ. Those guys are huge, going in there, cutting a shit ton of weight, and going in there huge, muscular, and just smashing these guys. So super common. And yeah, you're not wrong in that thought. A lot of people call these guys out for being weight bullies, but ultimately they've got the title. How much shit can you really talk about these guys? They're going out in front of millions of people fighting in their underwear, trying not to get knocked out, knocking people out. So it's hard to kind of rag on these guys when they're doing something that a lot of people in the world aren't going to do. So you're talking about, oh, you did all this stuff, but you weigh 15 pounds more than the other guys. Like, no one's really saying that. They're really going to talk about the knockout you just had, or the submission, or the win streak that you're on right now. So yes, they're going to be called a weight bully, but at the same time, the reward you get on the other side of that is way bigger than being called a name, if that makes sense. That's pretty much how that is. Let's get into some fights then. We'll start on the lower half. My first one off the early prelims that really caught my eye, obviously everyone's Josh Hokett versus Denzel Freeman. I was not familiar with either of these fighters. Josh Hokett was 7-0, undefeated, going against Denzel Freeman, who was 7-1. And dude, he just came out freaking got in this guy's face. I'm talking about Josh Hokett, and just smashed this guy from bell to bell, man. It was rough. He got TKO in round 1. 4 minutes, 59 seconds left. Man, it looked like he got the victory by middle finger. He gave the guy the middle finger, and then he fell to the ground, and the referee waved it off. It was insane. So the whole performance was awesome. He was on the guy's back, riding him like a freaking horse. That was insane. Spanking him on the ass. You can't get any better than that. I loved it. And then the post-fight, it was a little cheesy, but man, he's going for it. So I love it. You love seeing someone put it all out on the line. He did that. What I did not like is he went on the Ariel Helwani show and kept on the shtick. And it was a really, really hard watch. Some people have it, some people don't. As far as Chael Sonnen, Conor McGregor, even Henry Cejudo, it was super cheesy. And then he kind of got into the swing of things. So I do think there is hope for this guy if he just doubles down on it. It is super cheesy, but we saw Henry Cejudo, prime example. He tried to do the same thing. Not as crazy as this guy with the whole bandana sunglasses thing. But ultimately, it made people hate him, and it made people want to watch. So you can love this guy, you can hate him. A lot of these people are going to say he's corny. But if he keeps putting on performances like that, you're going to want to watch. You're going to want to watch and see what he does in the ring. And that's only going to bring him more dollars, more sponsorships, and that's ultimately what he needs. So for me, just keep it up, man. That dude looks like a killer. Fighting out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's a dog, man. What were your thoughts seeing that performance?
It's a business. It's a brand. You got to build your brand, and sometimes you're going to have to suck to get to where you want to be. So, yeah, it was definitely cheesy, and it felt a little forced.
Yeah.
But props to him because he went out and he did it, and it was funny, especially the strays he was throwing. That was hilarious. And he can talk the talk. That was a great fight. I'd never heard of him. Don't know too many UFC fighters to begin with, but I'm definitely going to remember Hokett after seeing that fight and that post-fight conversation and that post-fight talk that he had.
Hey, man, and that's
he's
valuable.
He's just got to christen. He's got to mold it. He's got to refine it and tunnel vision on how he wants to shit talk and stuff like that, and I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, for sure. He just needs to sharpen his mic skills, and he's on the right path for sure. And that's the other thing. You can put a lot of focus into that trash talk and all that stuff as long as it doesn't compromise what really matters, and that's your skills in the ring. So hopefully that guy stays on the right trajectory. He looks levels above who he was fighting in there this weekend. So it'd be nice to see him against some really stiffer competition and see what he does with it, man. So as we go up the card, I'm going to skip around, go on the big ones. But we had Umar Nurmagomedov get the decision win over Davison Figueiredo. This was a tough watch. Davison, I was a really big fan of him through his title run. I was definitely rooting for Brandon Moreno in all of those fights, but just watching greatness, like we say a lot of these times, he was one of them. He was on a run where if he continued, he could have been one of the greats in that division, but ultimately he lost the title in the end. Moved up a weight class. He's been in this weight class for about 2 years now, trying to spark this title run. And they put him up against a buzzsaw in Umar Nurmagomedov. And Umar was pretty much in control of this one throughout the whole fight. Davison really didn't have much to give back on that one. So he was the largest favorite on the card, Umar, and he showed why. So he's trying to tee himself up for another title shot, and you've got to think that's in his near future. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next one. We had Arnold Allen versus John Silva. That was another extremely hyped fight. John Silva got the decision win over Arnold Allen. And I think it was a really good one. He's put 2 wins together after his loss he took a couple months ago. And he's right on that correct path, man. It'll be really nice to see him get back on that title trajectory. Were you able to catch that fight?
Yeah, I thought that fight was really good. It had a lot of action, a lot of both feet standing up, not wrestling, not tumbling each other in their underwear. It was a really good fight. And they were both throwing punches. Arnold was holding his own. I do know Silva a little bit, and he's got a lot of power. So I was impressed with Arnold, and I was more impressed with how Arnold and Silva were respectful to each other, especially after Silva jumped on his back in the last seconds of the fight and just surfing on him. It's like, damn, punking his ass. But hey, he took it like a champ.
Yeah, every fight of his is like that, man. That dude's a dog. So it's good to see him get back in the win column. Next, we had Natalia Silva get the win over Rose Namajunas. For me, it was a pretty uninspiring fight for Rose. Natalia Silva did what she needed to do to get it done. What are your thoughts on that one?
So is Silva known for doing yeah? Because God damn, that's all she did.
For sure.
But yeah, like you were saying, is on Rose's part, it was a little disappointing just how she performed. She looked like her tank was half empty, so problems going into the fight or if something occurred towards the beginning of the fight, but she just looked flat-footed and uninspired, which is disappointing because you can't do nothing but root for her. She's got a great story. She's a great fighter, a great person. So that was a tough watch.
Let's get into our top 3 of the night. Waldo Cortez Acosta got the knockout over Derek Lewis. This is another tough one for me to watch. People are saying Derek Lewis threw the fight or whatever. Man, I think this guy is 40-something, 42, 43, something like that. You're just going to have some fights like that when he gets to that age. And we saw it with some of the other heavyweights. You know, those guys are able to fight later into their careers. And you just see it at this age, he's going to have fights like that. I'm sure he's going to come back and have a really big knockout like he did against Teixeira. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to add on that. Waldo Cortez Acosta, that was probably my first full fight I've seen of him, and he looked really good. He looked really fast in there. I don't have a lot of hope for what he's going to do getting into some higher caliber matchups. We've got some juggernauts at the top in Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gahn, possibly John Jones. I don't think he's going to be able to compete with those guys. But again, we'll see. We'd definitely be surprised with guys who possess far less. What were your thoughts on seeing that one?
That was a tough watch. You hit the nail right on the head. When you're at that age, it's really hard to compete with guys 9 years younger than you. So I don't think he threw the fight. That's not the type of guy that he is. It's more so of age. It's just catching up to you. He didn't look as quick. He didn't look as fast. And Acosta was the quicker fighter, and he deserved it.
Yeah. Let's get into the next one. Sean O'Malley versus Song Yadong. My opinion on this one, I wasn't as exhilarated as I feel like a lot of other people were with this one. Sean O'Malley had a good performance. He landed some pretty good shots, but ultimately I feel like a lot of that fight was being extremely tactical, a lot of feints. You really see that type of fight more with 5-round fights, but they did it in a 3-round fight, which you hate to see. You knew going into that fight that they should have made it a 5-rounder. Ultimately, it wasn't supposed to be that high up on the card, so that's why it was a 3-rounder. But Sean O'Malley did what he needed to do to get it done. You would have liked to see something more exhilarating. But again, Sean O'Malley did what he needed to do to get the win, and he looked good doing it. So he can only build on that, and he's on the right trajectory for sure.
I heard he was on a 2-fight skid, so I guess whatever you got to do to win, get that momentum going. But it was lackluster to me. Being a Sean O'Malley fan, I don't know too many UFC fighters. I'm going to say that constantly because I'm new to the sport. But, of course, the big-name fighters. So Sean O'Malley, I was super excited to see him. This was my first full fight in watching him. So I was very hyped up to see how the fight would play out. Ended up being lackluster and kind of boring. So I'm hoping his next fight will be a lot more entertaining than that, but you got to see some vintage, I guess, O'Malley moves with the knee kick and then just being surgical, going in and out, in and out. So
yeah, that 2-fight skid was to Merab. So he had lost the title to him, and then he had the rematch and lost that rematch. So definitely isn't too much of a knock when your 2 fight skid is 2 title matchups. So it was really important for him to get this contender fight W and cement himself as still one of the top guys in the world, if not the second best guy in the world. So it was great to see that from him. He already has 1 win over the champion in Peter Yan, who Merab lost to a couple months ago. So it's shaping up to be pretty interesting. I think Merab deserves that rematch against Yan. I think he's going to get it. But if he loses that rematch to Yan, it's looking really good for Sean O'Malley in his hopes to get that rematch. So it's definitely exciting for the division, to say the least.
Yeah, where does Sarukian play into all of that?
Ian is 155, so that will be our next matchup that we're going to talk about here and how he plays into it. But we can get into this next fight. So
I completely fucked that up.
No, you're good. I'm going to do that multiple times too. There's so many divisions. It's easy to get it mixed up, especially these guys in the 155, 175, 135. They all kind of look the same. So same size, that is. So it's kind of hard to discern unless you're really familiar with the roster. Justin Gaethje got the win over Paddy Pimblett. Full 5-round fight. This thing was a freaking barn burner. You thought this one was going to end in a knockout or sub, either which way, but it ended up being something so much better. A full 5-round fight of, if this was the only fight on the card, it would have succeeded. It met all the expectations. Go ahead and tell me what you were thinking watching this one.
You said it. It was a barn burner. From bell to bell, constant action. Gaethje, he was looking flashy. He was looking quick. He was looking powerful. Looking a little reckless. But, hey, that recklessness was working for him really good. He was just jabbing and punching and beating up on Pimblett. And you can just, after the first few punches, you could just see it on Pimplett's face. He was like, oh, my God, I got to go more rounds with this guy. But, hey, you got to give props to Pimblett. He's got a jaw made of steel because some of those hits, good God. He hung in there all 5 rounds, and it was a really good matchup. So, hey, 2026, it started out great for the UFC. That was a great main card.
Yeah, you said it, Justin Gaethje. From the first bell, the guy looked like he had cinder blocks in his hands. Paddy was landing really good shots. But just when you saw Justin land, you saw, like, Paddy's head fly back, and you just felt the damage even before you could see it, man. Paddy, in that first round, was landing a lot of really good low kicks. Ultimately, what's crazy, in the whole span of the fight, he had more significant strikes than Gaethje, which, is not something you really expected. But what you really saw throughout the fight was a really good back and forth fight with Gaethje knocking him down and really having some really good moments. But Paddy just being like what he says, he's a scouser, he doesn't get knocked out. He just kept coming back for more. Not only coming back for more, but throwing his shots back the other way. At one point, it looked like he kind of stung Justin in that last round. So it was super exciting, man. We talk about this with the UFC, man. This doesn't happen a lot in boxing, but you take that L in the UFC, but your performance is like that. That's only going to do something to grow your fan base. He's still really young. The dude's 31. He's going to be back in this position again. And it's tough because you were talking about it, man. Gaethje, he now has the interim title. He's got Ilia Topuria next. I know Topuria's going through possibly a divorce, some personal family issues. But if that's the same Topuria that comes back, he's going to starch Gaethje. It's not going to be pretty. So it's tough. And so this fight, in my opinion, is really for the third best lightweight in the world, in my opinion, because also you have Arman Tsarukyan waiting in the wings for a title shot as well. So for me, Arman Tsarukyan, I really did not like the guy, but after seeing his past couple of performances, I don't know how you don't put him as the second best lightweight in the world at this point. So it's going to be tough. Justin Gaethje is going to get that matchup against Topuria. In my opinion, I love Gaethje. He's one of my favorite fighters, but he's most likely going to lose. And then you've got Arman Tsarukyan. Is he going to fight Topuria? Is it going to be another vacant belt because Topuria is going to move up and fight Islam, which is what everyone really wants to see? You really just don't know. Time is only going to tell, but that's kind of where Arman Tsarukyan fits into that situation. If you recall, Tsarukyan dropped out against his Islam Makhachev championship pay-per-view last year, and ever since then he's been in 2 contender fights. His most recent one against Dan Hooker, and he's just waiting for Dana White to let him back into his good graces and give him a title shot. He's pretty much in timeout right now for pulling that stunt that he did last year. So we're going to see. All in all, Gaethje, anytime you have that power in your hands, there's a chance, right? So it's going to be cinema when him and Topuria step into the cage to fight for that title. So super exciting. Looking out on the UFC landscape, especially in that division, it's just stacked. So
how long do you think Dana will wait for Topuria to make a decision to come back?
Well, now you've got the interim title belt, so it's going to be as long as he needs with a star like that. Topuria is arguably top 3 biggest star in the UFC right now, so he's going to take all the time he needs. Similar to McGregor, he's been retired for whatever, but he's the biggest star of all time, so he can be as long as he needs to. And as soon as he gets off the drugs and gets in shape, Dana's going to be like, you ready? Come on. So it's just pretty much how it works. When you're a pretty big star, you hold a lot of the cards. UFC doesn't let them get too big-headed, but Topuria definitely has some leverage because he's who the fans want to see. When we're talking about greatness, talking about people doing stuff that's never been seen before, Topuria is on that trajectory and he's doing that stuff. So regardless, when he comes back, people are going to be watching.
Yeah. In the meantime, does that mean Gaethje's going to be fighting again or somebody?
It's possible. It's definitely possible. If Topuria is not coming back till, let's say, the beginning of next year, you've got to think maybe you can get Gaethje to fight one more time before he fights for the actual title. I don't like saying that, but for the undisputed title. But if they can get him back, Gaethje versus Sarukian would be a really great fight. I do not see Gaethje making it out of that one. But again, when you have the skills and the power that he has, you always have a shot.
That's a great weight class. It's stacked, like you said.
Yeah, 155, typically 155 in heavyweight over the history of the UFC has been like the glamour divisions. So 155, that was from McGregor, all these legends, heavyweight, John Jones, and all that good stuff. So yeah, those are definitely 2 of the premier divisions in this organization.
You ready for the triumphant moment?
Yeah, man, let's get into it. I'll go ahead and start it off. Our triumphant moment is going to Paddy Pimblett. Just seeing what we did, we talked about it, man. He had the, I don't want to say opportunity. He could have gave up, man, after that 3rd round when he's getting pounded on the ground. That ground and pound was nasty from Justin Gaethje. He had plenty of outs in that fight, and he decided to keep going, to bite down on his mouthpiece and throw it back at him. So, like we said, his stock has only risen from this fight here, and it's crazy. He didn't come out with a win, but he won something so much more, and that was an extremely high-level fight with one of the best in the world. You don't get that experience easily. That doesn't just come to you. So he got some very valuable experience in that moment, something that only the Gaethjes, Poiriers, Topurias, the cream of the crop in the world get to experience, which is just the best in the world going at it for all the stakes and going into those deep 5 rounds and having to dig it out of the gutter, man. He had to pull every ounce of strength out to put on that performance, and that's what I love about this sport. He had to put everything he had on the line. You saw like the embodiment of his spirit out there fighting. That's not easy. Like when you really sit down and think about it and try to put yourself in that position, like getting your face beat to shit. Like, did you see what his face looked like at the end of that? And to be able to just come back and be like, fuck you, like I'm coming back, I'm gonna take you the fuck out. Like, you have to believe that after all of that 4 rounds going to start the 5th, you don't go in there fighting the way he fought Pimblett after taking all of that without believing you can still pull it out and win. You know what I mean? So you can see when these fighters go in with a losing mentality into the next round or something like that, or they say fighting to survive. Like, that kid was fighting to win throughout the whole fight, no matter what happened. And the people that do that are far and in between. We listed off those fighters, like only a few of those fighters have that dog in them, like he showed that night. So super exciting to see in a younger fighter in that division and see what he can really put together.
His character really showed through in that fight, in the post-fight interview with Joe Rogan. He's just a great guy. How can you not like him? He's very positive and supportive of people, especially with mental health. So you could see the disappointment that he had on his face at the end of the fight, but that didn't keep him down. He was still the same person and just somebody to root for, really. And like you were saying, this fight, although he didn't win it, it was a win in his books because his legacy is just jump starting, I would say. That a fight like that, with all the eyes watching, and to have a character like that and to still be a man and just really show who you are as a person in all the frustration and agony of defeat. Only a few people can do it, and he seems like he'll be the next great one to do that. So my triumphant moment will be Sam Darnold thrown, outcasted. He's drafted by the Jets, now it's 8 years ago. He didn't have success. Who can have success in the Jets organization? After a couple years, they traded him away. He went to, I don't even remember. He went to the 49ers. He's been with the Panthers. And then last year, Minnesota picked him up, and he led that team to a 14-3 record. And he had a great connection with O'Connell, the head coach, and then he had a super great connection with Justin Jefferson. Jefferson proved that he is quarterback proof. Sam Darnold really turned his career around last year, and he signed a, 3-year, $150 million contract with Seattle this past offseason. And now look at him. He's got another 14-3 team at the helm, and he's taking them to the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold regressed just a little bit from last year, and maybe that has to do with this oblique injury we're finding out a little bit about. But that injury didn't affect him at all this past week against the Rams because he just had a field day. He had a career day. He put on a clinic. And he's just a guy similar to Patty Pimblett, where he's been through all these tribulations, all these challenges. A lot of people have counted him out. A lot of people have gone against him. But at the end of it, he comes out with the same mentality, the same character that he had going into this NFL career. And I'm excited for him. I liked him in college at USC. Him to get this chance and be the first quarterback from the 2018 draft with Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, for him to be the first of those quarterbacks to get to the Super Bowl on top of all the things that he had to do and had to go through to get there. That's super triumphant to me.
Yeah, man, I completely agree with you. Like you said, everyone's looking down on you, pretty much writing you off, and just being able to persevere, put yourself out there and keep making the correct plays day after day. It's a triumphant moment. This guy really had a triumphant season, even last season before that. Dude's just making all the right moves. So super inspiring to see him do that, to pull off what he's been able to pull off. And if this guy goes and gets a Super Bowl, I mean, that is insane. And that's not those guys are few and far in between, especially in the NFL. It's so hard to get back in the running, and that guy had to fight and compete for his job every step of the way. So, embody of triumphant man, and yeah, really great choice.
And that'll do it for this week's episode. We will see y'all next week. Go ahead and drop a like, drop a follow. We'll see y'all then.
See y'all.